Join us as we embark on a journey where we're breaking boundaries, setting new rules. We're making a difference, developing young people. We're the billionaire generation, connecting Africa, promoting entrepreneurship. It's inspiring positive change. We're kicking doors. Welcome back to Kicking Doors with Sbu Leope. My heavy hitter this evening has been rated as the highest designated professional speaker on the continent. He has been inducted in the Southern Africa Speakers Hall of Fame. He's also the only African speaker to receive the XP Award, which is an equivalent of an Oscar in the speaking game in the United States. He has been honored by African Development as the most inspiring mentor on the continent. I agree to that one because, you know, he's mentored people like myself from a distance. He also happens to be from my hood, guys, the Tembisa. You know, ladies and gents, watch this amazing conversation I had with the Honorable Mr. Billy Selekane. Why did you choose motivational speaking?
Well, I think one of the things that I've always said, Sbu, is each and every one of us has a story to tell. And every day when you wake up, your life is a story, and you add a chapter into your story. And we've had great stories about Americans achieving this, Americans doing this, Americans doing that. And I said to myself, is it possible that from the darkest part of the southern part of Africa, from a township which nobody thinks much about, that a story could be told? And this story, it's a story of, it's a hero's journey. It's growing up in a township where there is no hope, but the fascinating part is the name of the township is Hope, Tembisa. And I felt that if I could fix my story, if I could fix my narrative and get out and achieve the things that I set to achieve, then it's a good story to tell. And that's why I chose to become a speaker, so that my story and your story and many other people's stories could be heard, not from a welfare perspective that, you know, I'm asking for donations to do this, but as an equal amongst equals. Stand in New York, stand in Amsterdam, stand in Hong Kong, stand in Japan and say, I'm African, I'm South African, and I'm from Tembisa.
Lovely. Now, I love what you're saying. You turned your story into a business. Now, how does an artisan, how does an ordinary person on the ground who is doing whatever profession it might be, whatever they're studying, they're probably a student, how do they take their story, or how do they take their skill how do they turn it into a business? Now we're talking entrepreneurship, because you've taken your gift and your talents and you've turned them into a business just like I have.
Yeah. Well, I think we're living in a world where, and I keep saying this, that nations are not colonized by other nations, but brands colonize nations. And a brand is not a logo, it's not a building, it's not a color. A brand is an experience. So each and every young entrepreneur has an ability or an opportunity to create an experience which is so powerful that it creates what we call top-of-the-mind brand awareness to their immediate consumers. And if their immediate consumers resonate with that story, he or she can package it and sell it to the world. It's all about positioning. And I chose that from day one, I'm going to position myself differently, because what I did is I quickly studied the industry locally. Of course, you get Speaker Magazine, it was all white speakers. You get speaking agencies, they represent white speakers. The only one black person who was ever represented was David Muller. Everybody else was in the doldrum. And I thought to myself, it's a question of positioning. So if I get onto these books, they might treat me as a token black. And they'll not give me jobs based on meritocracy, based on the fact that I can deliver. They'll give me jobs because he is a black speaker and they can tick a box. And I decided I was going to position my brand as an Aston Martin. I studied the Aston Martin brand and how they positioned it. They don't advertise where they don't need to advertise. People who buy Aston Martin don't ask the price, they look for extras. So I decided from day one, I'm going to position myself differently. And one of the funny things which I did was I priced myself 20% above everybody.
Why?
There's always the perception of value. So for me, it was increase your perception of value. That creates curiosity. People start asking questions, and the only way that they can fulfill those questions is to bring you in. But when they bring you in, remember, they didn't bring me in because they wanted to see me speak. They brought me in to prove me wrong. You understand? And I said to myself, they don't know what's going to hit them, because I've been working hard, I've been preparing, I've been training, I've been coached. And I remember my first paying engagement, it just became the biggest paying engagement of my life was when I was invited by Gilbey's after I'd resigned to come and become an opening speaker at the conference.
Wow.
They paid me my year salary for doing a 1-hour keynote. I said, yes!
And it proved the point why being initiated.
Exactly, you know?
That's amazing. They say that behind every great man is a great woman. Well, this next woman stands behind no man. She's a princess of South African pop. Her success story was one both of adversity and triumph. She has become an inspiration to millions of women across the continent. Not only women, a lot of guys out there as well. For me to even start a company in the music industry, she was one of my inspirations. She's Mrs. Yvonne Chaka Chaka.
Growing up in Soweto or during the 70s was funny because the mother next door was your mother, the father next door was your father, the uncle next door was your brother or your uncle. That was funny, but in a very good way, because you would never have done any wrong thing. Because if you were seen by the neighbors doing anything wrong, they would beat you up and come home and report you to your mother, and she'll give you another smack. But I think that for me was the greatest thing, because that was real Ubuntu. Growing up in the townships, you know, my father died when I was young, 11 years old. My mother worked as a domestic worker, and things were quite rough during those times, so I had to be macho and protect my two elder sisters. If anything happened to them, they knew that boy Yvonne will come and beat everybody up. I think in South Africa you never thought there is longevity, or this is an industry where you can have a staying power. And entertainment really is not seen as work. It wasn't seen as work. So my mother really insisted that we as the three girls go to university and have some kind of education, because as a domestic worker, she's always said to us, I don't want you to turn out to be like me. I want you to be able to do things for yourselves and never rely on anybody and be very independent woman. And really for that, I adore her, because she was not that educated, but she was very empowered from a very early age, and she wanted to empower us as well.
Picture him in my mind, easy, handsome and kind.
Phil Hollis found me in 1985, and I went and I recorded I'm in Love with the DJ, and it was a big hit. And I had to shoot the video, didn't have clothes. I stole my sister's red and white dress. And by the time I finished, they called me from the booth, you know, to come, and I was listening to myself, and I'm like, is that me singing there, you know? And they said, yeah, we're going to clean up this mix and do everything and edit the song. And I'm like, oh, how long will it take? You know, I was like wanting to be excited, but thinking, maybe they're just fooling around with me. But when I got that round record, you know, that vinyl, and Phil Hollis gave it to me and said, yeah, I'm going to make you a superstar. It was quite exciting, I must say. I used to get very angry when the press called me an overnight success. But I think really I was, because I came from nowhere. And boom, one song, I'm in love with the DJ. I mean, within 2 weeks, I'm in love with the DJ had sold 35,000 copies.
Give them a chance in this lonely world. They need a home where they belong.
You know, people constantly ask me, you do all this philanthropic work, you've got so much money, you know, and I'm like, I do not have money. I do all the work because my belief is that we are born with our hands closed. And when we are born, we're born with absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter where you're born with nothing. And as you grow, you open your hands to receive or to give. And what you do on earth, you know, people have to remember you, because some people can do things for themselves, other people may not be able to do things for themselves, and because it's not their fault as well. But because you're given this chance, you're given this platform, these people have elevated you to where you are. What do you, in return, do for them? So that's why I do all my philanthropic work, whether I'm in the outskirts of Namibia or I'm in the outskirts of Sierra Leone. I say to myself, this is where God wants me to be. That rather than you coming and saying to people, you've got nothing and take this. Maybe that's not what they want. You may want to go and build houses for people, and maybe they don't want houses. Maybe they want gardens. You want to give them gardens. Maybe that's not what they want. So I've learned to go out there and listen to their plight, because all they want is a hand up, not a handout. That Ubuntu spirit is there in each and every one of us. But how do we then start practicing it all over again? You know what I'd like to say to the youth of this country is that so many people died, black, white, yellow and green, for this freedom and for us as South Africans to live and work together. Other people went into exile, other people went into jail for a long time, some even died for this freedom. And I really think for our young people, the avenues and the playing fields, it's being leveled for them. They've got everything. They should be working together and making sure that this country it's for all of them. Because really, South Africa is for all those who live in it now. And this freedom really didn't just come easy, but this freedom is here today. So they should not be taking this freedom for granted.
Oh, 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 Africa crown, Sigelela, Tina, Lusapolayo.
Guys, it's been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We do know that a lot of you guys are asking 30 minutes is not enough and so forth. A lot of you guys are giving us a lot of positive feedback because our show is sassy, informative, it's real. We deal with real issues on the ground and a lot of people are just so much in love with the show. So don't worry, we're together for the next year. But another, I don't know, 50-something episodes will still come, so don't you go nowhere. If you know any entrepreneur out there that you think are doing wonderful, especially from young people to guys that are running already existing businesses, to guys at the top, hit us up and communicate with us on CNBC Africa. That's on Twitter. You can also follow me. It's at DJ Sbu. And every Tuesday evening, 8:30, it's Central African time. You can find us over there on #KickingDoors. Yes, it's #KickingDoors410 with Sbu Leope. I'll see you guys again next week Tuesday. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you guys. Love you.